you're welcome to the Elan Hub special. And my name is Belema Chris-Biriowu. We're going to be talking about something really, really exciting, something really amazing with somebody really, really, really special, somebody that I am crazy about, and you will be too in a matter of minutes. This woman is amazing. She is a mediapreneur, she's a lecturer, she's a researcher, and she's the team lead of Elan Hub. Wow. Well, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Dr. Sarah Joe.
Hello, everyone.
Dr. Sarah, you're welcome to the program.
Quite an introduction, Bells.
Yeah, wow, that's who you are. And more, by the way, but let's not waste a lot of time because we can't finish it. This one is amazing, and you'll find us out shortly. Dr. Sarah, recently you went on social media. Of course, Elan Hub is a social media platform,
It is.
and that makes you a big deal on the social media space.
Yeah.
And you went on social media and declared that for the very first time you're going to be watching the BBN. Now, anyone who has followed Dr. Sarah recently would understand that when she speaks, it moves and shakes the ground. So people were reacting. I was surprised. I was excited, but I was really surprised because not that long ago, you hosted a show that you called the BBN 2 Hour Special,
Yes.
where you had so many guests both from industry, the town down experience. You merged it together and you elicited the responses of people. You sampled the reaction on what the BBN seems or is to them, and you were of the opinion that show in itself may be a constructed reality. So yes, when you speak, it actually makes people think. So when I saw on your social media space that you were going to watch, it really, really touched something in me. And a lot of people also reacted. They're like, why this sudden change of heart? So before we go into why you changed your mind to go and watch this program, my question is, what is your perspective of this program? What do you think about the BBN, the Big Brother Naija show?
Okay, so this is what I'll say about BBN. First of all, I think I've been a second-hand watcher.
Okay.
You know how people watch and then bring aspects of the show and they'll show on social media, so some have encountered it. And then Ellen hosted it last year, and I think we did some content, BBN related content, with respect to news. If something is in the media space, then we have to jump on it. So there's that.
Okay.
So it's a product of, first of all, the conversation I had when we had the 2 Hour Special on the radio station on campus. And when I dug a bit further, I realized that more than 90% of our student population want to be on the show. And if you have one show that is sub-reality, in my view, a constructed reality, but then 90% of your population are interested in being on it, I think as an adult, as someone that is in the media space, as Sarah, and of course the team lead for Elan Hub, I should immediately pay attention.
Okay.
And then I began to question and just do a little research on BBN. And then these are the statistics that really jumped at me. That over 900 million persons voted during the last season, season 5. And then over 300 million persons across Africa watched it. And I know that this year, for instance, on Showmax, people in the US and the UK probably have access to it.
Yeah.
If you have a show that much, that commands attention, that shuts down the 2 most important narratives in Nigerian context, religion and politics,
Okay.
I think everyone, not just me, should pay attention. Now, the attention I'm paying is not with respect to the distractions around what people are wearing or what they are saying. It's based on this principle that there's a lesson to learn in everything. But then this is the biggest show in Africa. It is the largest platform. In fact, I'm going to borrow one of the, I think it was Tega or one of the contestants on the show.
Okay.
She described Big Brother with, I think, the best phraseology, if you like. She said, Biggie is the biggest influencer. If you're part of a show that as soon as you get on the show, you have maybe 200,000 followers on Instagram, on Facebook, and all of this translates to capital.
Right.
I don't think anybody in Nigeria, living, breathing, should ignore the show.
Okay.
I think everyone that I respect and that respects me, loves me, they've had to call me after I made that public announcement to say, Sarah, What's going on?
Right.
Why are you watching BBN?
I did too.
Are you okay?
I asked
You have just given these people the biggest endorsement. And I said, no, I think there's a misunderstanding here.
Oh, okay.
My understanding of media is not the people, the characters on the show. These are people that a bigger set of capitalists are using to weaponize in order to get the bigger fish advertisers. So it is not really the people on the show, even though, of course, I know you're going to ask me, I've worked for a couple of days, and so I have some things to share in terms of even the content and the kind of narratives that I find there. But it's about the people, the organizers of the show. They are ingenious. Because to be this successful, year after year, there has to be something, there's a lesson there for me to learn. And it's that lesson that I'm going for. How do you design one program that's effective every year? How do you design one program where, according to some of the research and feelers I'm getting, people were willing to pay up to 3 billion naira to advertise them? How do you design a show where people pay up to 200 million to just get their products on? How do you design a show where as soon as the people come out, they become instant stars?
Yeah.
So people can criticize BBN for all the moral issues or our personal takes and choices, but I think there's a bigger lesson there to learn for us. And someone in media, again, I keep emphasizing that, understanding how media works. When I watch the show, I'm not watching like the average man. There are things that I'm seeing that probably some other persons won't see. And I remember in the opening video where I made the announcement, I'll be watching the show, I also said, it's important for us to see what our younger populations are seeing.
Right.
If we watch the show, there probably will be something that we see differently. And I think there's so many things already. And it's just about how many days now, we're not even up to 72nd day. There's a lot that I've seen I'm willing to share. So yes, that's my answer to your question.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you for saying that there's lots you've seen, because I can't wait to hear what you've seen. What exactly are you seeing on the program now? Is it like what you anticipated, or are you being blown away, or are you regretting your decision to watch?
I think it's too early for me to say whether I regret or not. I think watching the show is an intentional decision.
Okay.
What I'm battling with now is considering all I have on my plate on a daily basis, on a normal day. I have to teach, I have to be in uni, I have to run family and all of that, whether I'll even have the time. But yesterday I spent some time to actually watch, and I was really taken by, first of all, again, I keep talking about the organizers of the show, so I'm going to focus on them yet.
Okay.
I think there's a whole strategy regarding the kind of people on the show this year. Because, I mean, I've been able to also go back, talk to people about people that were on the show before, do some research online to understand. I think they deliberately elevated the standard or the category of persons on the show. We have people being on international shows like Blacklist on the show, Boma. We have the very popular Emmanuel on the show. We know Emmanuel from his activities on NSAS, and then University of Port Harcourt, and some of the things he's done. And I think we're going to talk about him a lot. We have people who studied abroad on the show, and each of them, when you look at them, if you're taken by how people dress or how, but you have to listen to the kind of content, what they're really saying. The people on the show, when you look at them, we may become distracted by how they look, but it's important that we listen. Yesterday, for instance, I got a reminder to floss my teeth.
From the show?
Yes, from the show. I think two persons were just having a conversation explaining why you have to floss your teeth. Boma was in that conversation, talking about how you need to floss your teeth and how that can help. Living in the UK a few years ago, I used to do that a lot. But now somehow I've forgotten. I think I got a reawakening. So there are sub-conversations that happen on that platform that people have to pay attention to. And then there's another thing I've also observed, and this is my observation. I'm not saying that maybe this is the case or this is the lens through which I have seen the show for now. The caliber of men are quite different from the caliber of women.
In what way?
Okay, so I'll say this. I think the men are, I don't even know if this is an English word, readier, thirstier for this 90 million. For instance, you have people who've been served the military, lived in the US. They are, in our view, or to the average Nigerian, almost accomplished. They're not hungry people. But I think they have worked, and in terms of their presentation, probably because of the way it was also designed, the guys came in first. And so they had time to really bond and explain themselves and give this very scripted stories that give us insights into their lives. Maybe if we query the stories a bit, we may find some loopholes. But again, we are all responsible for our stories and how we want to brand ourselves and show ourselves. So I won't even go into that subject. But again, they had time, and for every one of them, they had very strong stories coming, and they are thirsty and they want to do it.
Okay.
But for the women, when I listened to them, for some of them, they kept using this word, I'm here to sell myself. I'm here to sell myself. Without really explaining what it is that they really want to sell. When they were introducing themselves, oh, I have this business, I will launch it when I leave the house.
Okay.
That's not to say it's not wrong, because of course, if you're on the show and then you leave, there's this massive followership and all of that.
Yes.
But it's also important that there's a level of preparedness or some accomplishments that you can work on. For instance, Emmanuel said he took out 2 years to prepare for the show. It shows being deliberate. It shows strategy. But of course, as the show goes on, we're going to see how effective that is.
Right.
But in listening to them, I don't know whether this is too soon to say. When they were presenting themselves, they probably did not use the right set of words to really tell us what they have done and accomplished.
That's female.
Yeah, I mean, Maria said some things that she's done, air hostess and all of that. But we didn't really get that kind of very strong presentation as the men did. I think they were more conscious of the fact that this is the one chance I may have to actually tell the world.
Okay.
But in other further conversations, we began to understand what the women now, what they do and things they've accomplished. Apart from going to school and all of that. So, some stories are beginning now to emerge.
Right.
So it's this conversation about what do you do with the stage when you're given the stage alone. And those are some of the things I'm tinkering and just thinking about. And so it's really, really interesting.
Great. So you are a researcher.
Yes, I am.
And my question to you is, based on all the stories that we've heard from these individuals in the house, do you have any plans to go into any kind of research to probably verify these stories or debunk them or just show the world the real humans? I mean, there are stories, and like you said, it's a strategy to sell. So do you have any plans to conduct further research on the housemates or the program as a whole to unveil certain things that we may not know or the audiences may not be privy to?
Okay, so Ellen Hub, we've already had conversations with some persons on the side who've been on the show before. And then using that as kind of a linchpin to see if we can gain access, like backdoor access to some of the persons that are currently on the show, especially ones within River State, to really go talk to probably people who know them and things they have done to showcase maybe some of the things they've accomplished. For example, this is not selling anybody. This is just talking about what we do know now. We know that Emmanuel attended the University of Port Harcourt, and that while he was there, he set up a gym called, I think, a body lab. And then from there, he now set up this salon. And then from there, he set up a spa. It's been interesting to go talk to people who know about this and maybe get images of those places to say, okay, this is what. So when you give someone like that 90 million naira, you have an indication of what he would probably do if it was a success. Because again, that's the bigger question regarding people who go on the show. What do they do afterwards? But I also like to draw attention before we go into the benefits and who's going to win and all of that. There's also, based on my understanding of media, there are big issues with people who want to be on the show. I know that lots of people want to be on the show, but there's some questions they need to ask themselves now. Most of the people you have on the platform now are ready. They have worked, they have a backlog of accomplishments because the standard for being on the show is increasingly heightened. You can't just be anybody now. I want to be on the show. So if that is your plan and you feel that that is your way out, then you have to start thinking about how am I going to sell myself? What are the things, what's the body of work behind my persona that this platform would now help me explode? And then people who also want to be on the show have to always remember that there are psychological issues and mental health issues. There's the depersonification or dehumanization that comes with reality TV that we have to always draw attention to. And so my question to the organizers of BBN and all of that is, what amount of help do they give these people? We've heard in the UK, for instance, how people die after being on reality shows. We know how dangerous that is. We've heard some narratives about people who now have to go and willingly start begging brands, and all of those very funny stories, but important stories, because people's health it really counts.
Yeah.
If they're going to use people and transform them into characters, I think if it's not in place already, the government needs to really hold them responsible in terms of the plans they're doing before, during, and after the show with respect to mental health.
That's quite heavy.
Yeah.
And really true.
Yeah.
Because these are human beings.
These
at
are
the
human
end of the
beings.
day,
Yeah.
Okay, so my last question for you
Okay.
before we go real quick is, who are you rooting for? First of all, are you starting to like someone in the house because of who they are, and would you root for anyone in the house right now?
Okay, so I understand I'm human, but I have to say this and say it clearly. My intention in terms of watching is not to become a voyeur, as in someone that is into just watching people be or be themselves. It's more about the bigger conversations.
Right.
Of course, who knows? I'm watching the show, I'm steeped in it in terms of having this kind of and drawing attention, societal attention to some of the big things we should think about in terms of BBN. Maybe I'll find someone that I find attractive, but once I hear the word teacher, it already, ignites my mind to say, anyone who teaches, I teach, there's some affinity there.
Right.
So maybe Yusuf has got my attention. Well, it's still, because he's a teacher, but that doesn't mean he's got my support, because we'll have to see how this whole thing unpacks. But remember, the people on that show, for me, I view as characters.
Right.
So because they are characters, I don't know how much of that, because that's not really the intention. And I keep saying this, and I need people to please understand. I'm not advertising for BBN. I'm saying that this thing is too big to ignore. And there are lessons for every one of us to learn from it.
Wow. So you've heard her. If you are an ardent viewer of the program, well, you should be looking at the bigger picture as well, and learn from it, and possibly figure out what is better about it or what is worse because of it. Thank you so much, Dr. Sarah. It's been a pleasure having you here.
Thank you,
You've given me so much to think about, and
Awesome.
I really hope that subsequently, before the end of the program,
Oh,
we will continue to do
we
this.
have to
and
keep
you have
doing
to
this.
keep telling us more about what you find
Yeah.
and how we should follow the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
It's
much.
been a
I'm
great
so
time.
grateful. Thank you.